Hello, viewers. Welcome. Joanna here with Brian, as usual, for our weekly recordings. And today's recording is really focusing on New Year's resolution and what is it that you can look forward to in 2021. I know we're ending the 2020 and we had some discussion on previous recording that we did, which was just posted recently. On how do we end the year, but this is really more about what is it that you can do to push yourself forward? What is it that you can do in 2021? So that way your New Year's resolutions, which usually come towards the end of the year and the beginning of the year, because that's where we find ourselves most motivated about, is how can they actually stay with you the entire year, and that you can manifest a better version of yourself. Me and Brian always say this. How can you manifest a better version of yourself, who you are today, and how can you better yourself from where you have been? So to start off, just to share something to all of our viewers in the beginning, is Brian and I will be doing and Brian will explain this a little bit more, a upcoming webinar series starting January 18th, and it will last until December of next year. And it will really focus on where is it that you begin your journey? Where is it that you would like to find yourself in the middle of your journey? And how do you want to end your journey of 2021? So this is a whole year's journey, whole year's motivation, determination, and things that you can do for yourself to better yourself, to based on where you are today, where you would like to be, and how can you get there? So to start off, Brian, I'll leave it in your hands a little bit more, if there is more to bring, and what is it that we can share with our viewers?
Yeah, thank you, Joanna. So the series I called Thrive Well, essentially envisioning 2021, how do you revive yourself, revive your sense of self and your ambitions? How do you align beliefs, feelings, thoughts that support your desires, right, and your journey in this next year? And for the first part, we are going to be the series, if I could share the titles, would be To Be or Not to Be. And the second one is Let's Talk About Love, Baby. Mm-hmm. And the third one is Mirror, Mirror on the Wall. Essentially, for any kind of ambition and desire, what resolutions could center around in this time around with ours is what are the belief systems, mantras, self-talk that can be the practice of whatever we're doing. Like for me, a deliberate sense, a commitment to being deliberate, to work with a sense of urgency. Do it now. Just do it, so that that behavior or that habit permeates in all other parts of my life. And, and what we want to do for an entire year, but for a month-to-month basis, like what one practice that the audience and our participants can take and practice, and there'll be a check-in again in the following month, and to get feedback as to how did it go, what was difficult about it, and what price do we pay for not having a commitment to ourselves. For any self-improvement, there has to be a strong sense of self. Who am I? Who am I right now? And how do I want to show up in the world? I think is where the turning point is, right? Because if I'm just on my baseline, I could be sloppy and not care. But my higher self resonates with a different energy. My higher self enters a room and there'll be a different presence. So essentially the practice is how do we resonate in our higher self? Because we are in a world that we are influenced by our environment, we are taking it in, we're responding to it, we're reacting to it, and we can lose ourselves in that.
Oh, very much so. Yes.
Right? So how can 2021 essentially be a healer's, we being the healer to ourselves, and we being the empowerer to ourselves, and we being the power manifester to ourselves. We are what we pay attention to.
And this is almost similar to like life coaching, right? So We don't necessarily go and do therapy in these webinars, but it's really just like Brian says, more so encouraging, motivating, to allow you to have this determination to do things. And it's also like forming a habit. It's a whole year. We're not talking about something that lasts a month, even though maybe in some of those ways we can learn certain things, but this is for a whole year. And we will have definitely a lot more information on this webinar. We will post it, whether it's on the YouTube channel, whether it is on our websites, so that way viewers, you can reach out to us in any different ways. But like I said, and Brian says, it's for you to manifest something better from where you start, from where you finish. It's two different roads, and there is an end point, and it is a habit, because it will encourage you to stick to this routine. And it's not going to be a difficult routine. It's just a routine that you're going to have to allow yourself to do. And we are just here in the background as motivators and life coaches.
Yeah. And Joanna and I, right, this is our mission. This is our calling and our response to our calling through technology, to inspire hope, to expand on well-being and mental health. And we encourage you that, that you too, in your circle, in your journey in life, there will be people, individuals, family, friends who can benefit from our webinars, our conversations, or from therapy. And it's our way to expand well-being in our community, with our family and friends, and the world at large.
Mm-hmm. And just like you said, I think I'll quote, our calling is so big right now. And I think more so because of COVID, that we just want to reach out to as many people as possible. I think we can speak for many therapists. I think a lot of us have been overwhelmed because of COVID, just like first responders are overwhelmed with the physical aspects of COVID. I think from our end, we can be quite overwhelmed with the mental aspect of COVID. And I think through doing these webinars, and yes, thankfully we have learned how to use Zoom, maybe not necessarily to perfection and all these editing and YouTubes, but we're doing best that we can, so that way we can reach out to a bigger audience, so that we can provide information to those that need information and they don't know how to receive it. So this is something that's encouraging a lot more, and it's allowing us to take a step further to do what we want, and to, like Brian, like you said, this is our calling to do a lot more. And we have time. We have time now. I don't know how, but we have time. Mm-hmm.
More time than we thought we did. I think, this practice of being deliberate, I've discovered that I get more done when I am deliberate and when I'm focused and when I'm intentional. And that intention and focus needs to be renewed, of course, because I can get very distracted by my curiosity on whatever that I'm reading on, right? And I think it's important to know also that this is our way of healing the world, right? Heal the world, Michael Jackson. And to get people to be connected in a time when we feel very, very much disconnected.
Mm-hmm. And to maybe just kind of add into this mix is because we are looking forward to 2021, or hopefully looking forward to 2021, and New Year's resolutions for those of us that have them, would like to have them. And what is it that we can do that we can stick with them? A lot of times I think, and I don't know by studies or statistically, even though I like numbers, is how often do we find ourselves being motivated to start something, New Year's resolution, and stopping it maybe midway through because we feel like it's not working, or because we feel like we have become overwhelmed with other responsibilities. What is it that we can do? What is it that pushes us forward? So I'm going to ask you, Brian, of course, we're going to become a little bit more personal here, is what pushes you forward, Brian? What motivates you? And as you move forward to 2021, how can you inspire yourself? How can you find your New Year's resolutions? Where is it that you would like to be at the end of 2021?
Well, I have been working on this and I've been doing it every year. But the way I do it is I break it up into the quarter. So every 3 months, every 3 months, I have a new goal, and that keeps my momentum going. And within those 3 months, I have 1 month goals, and I have a vision, sort of a vision board type thing. that I work on. For instance, for this first quarter, I'm working on my workbook with a designer overseas, and that may take time depending on how much how much work is entailed in the design work and stuff. But that is what keeps me going. The thing that really inspires me first starts in that desire to make the world a better place. It sounds corny, but really, that's what I live for. And I'm so happy that I get to live that life.
I could feel it in your body language.
How awesome that we get to do this for a living, so that's one. The second idea. Sorry, I'm fumbling with myself. Is that to how can I continue to expand on hiring clinicians who are in their provisional license, where they've got their license but they need the clinical hours and all that, to get them the practice with patients and all that. So the enrollment to inspire patients and to inspire well-being, so that we can give life to and an opportunity to clinicians, and they then help people at large. So that's what drives me. And then creativity.
As I've mentioned in previous webinars, Brian is a very creative individual, and he can use anything that he's at home and create something out of it. So that's a great benefit of being a therapist too, from Brian's side.
So what keeps going is the renewal and the re-energizing through creativity and dance and movement and exercising. I am fortunately able to enjoy, I find myself, enjoying life, but it has been so good, like during my difficult times when I had to deal with, insurances and finances.
A lot of different things, yeah.
Right? As much as it drains me, because it's so much of a habit, that those are activities that I can turn to with deliberateness. It has to be intentional, right? Because I could very easily go into a space where I'm ruminating about it, but it's so uncomfortable. And it just wakes me up. I'm like, okay, go for a run.
And I think, right. And I think, some of the things that we have mentioned in previous webinars is, I think I'm speaking for all of us, is that none of us like to do stuff that's not necessarily so pleasant, right? Whether it's paperwork, whether it's dealing with insurance companies, or, whatever comes our way, it's always more pleasant to do something that's exciting. And I think that's one of the other things that I feel like I posted on previous webinar is if we are able to find joy and happiness in whatever it is that we do, then it's almost like we allow ourselves to have extra time. And this is so important to whether it's viewers, whether it's just us in general, is what can motivate us, what pushes us forward, what is it that we can find joy in, how long can it last for? And I think also with going back to New Year's resolutions, for you, for I, is that inner language, which we are the biggest criticizers of ourselves. Yes, it's the outside world, right? We get criticism or judgments or stereotyping, whatever it is that comes, it's there, it exists, but it's really how we choose to look at it. It's our choice. Go back to choice theory. And how do we choose to take whatever it is that we hear from outside versus the inner voice in me? Can I encourage myself? This is what we were just talking about right before we got on this webinar. Can I motivate? Can I encourage? Can I validate? Can I recognize what is it that I'm doing? So that way it pushes me forward to do more. And with that, I guess with that said, the outside sees it and it encourages you even more. And sometimes that takes time as well. It doesn't sometimes just take a minute or a day, for it to become real. You really have to work at it.
Yeah. The reason why we give up on things is because whatever we're trying to develop doesn't feel effective as yet. Right? Every habit.
You don't see the progress.
The cycle, right? And a growth process before it feels effective. Like writing with your, whatever your non-dominant, writing with my left hand would take a while before I feel like I'm effectively writing with skill and mastery, right? Otherwise, I'm always going to return, and hence relapses, right? If I'm trying to write with my left hand, when I'm stressed, I'm going to return writing to my right with my right hand.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Because it's quicker and it's better.
So
like an easy way out. We like easier things, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. That could go with anything. That could go into like I know you like playing your guitar now. That could go into swimming, wanting to swim a certain way. Because that's what we know feels better is because it's easier because we have already mastered it. And those
emotion and anger. I could be a practitioner of trying to be meditative patient, but if I'm angry, depending on who it is, I find myself making like, shall I get angry or not? And then if I decide that I'm going to get angry with this situation and I unleash, it feels like a total relapse because I can't catch myself and bring myself back to a. It takes so much more effort once when I open up and it's not really measured, without being conscious about it. Maybe being conscious about the choice, but not really being conscious about how I'm going to tame it.
Right. I think that also goes with how, because I'm thinking about anger, right? It's like, I'm thinking like neuroplasticity, and we've mentioned it in our previous webinar as well, is how long do I choose to stay there? And how far do I choose to take it, right? Can I acknowledge that I'm angry? Yes. Can I use it in a healthy way? Absolutely. So I think there is ways to handle it and then allowing yourself to have that moment and then move forward.
Yeah.
Right.
Because otherwise, all we're doing is strengthening the pathway of that topic that we're upset about.
Yes. Yes. And I have to say this, right, because I mentioned it to you right before we started this recording, is that my daughter went for the first time snowboarding today. So she didn't have a practice. She just went with my husband. And and I'm encouraging her. We just talked about it. I'm encouraging her and motivating her that, if she falls, that's okay. Will it be scary? Probably. She's not used to this. It's for her first time doing it. And then hours later, she calls me and she shares a video of how far she has gone, how far she has snowboarded to. Yes, we snowboard. We're a snowboarding family. And you wouldn't think so for so many reasons. But because I encourage her and I motivate her and I validate and I recognize all of these emotions that she's having, she's able to take them all in and wanting to do more. If I were to say, be careful, or I don't know which ways to use it, but if I did not motivate her, if I did not encourage her, most likely it would possibly, I'm thinking, would go the opposite. She would be more fearful. She would be more scared. And I think that by me saying to her, it's an outer voice, but we have to do that to ourselves. And this is the part of, the New Year's resolutions, the ability to do it for yourself because you want to do it for yourself. And all of our viewers, we all have New Year's resolutions, whether it is what I hear most of the time is wanting to lose weight, eating healthier. I think all of us say this because Christmas holiday time, we may not necessarily eat as healthy as we would want to because all the great food that's in front of us. But yes, once again, is that we have all these resolutions, and how is it that we can continue having them?
If I could just add, right,
yes,
about that, how do we sustain it, right? We are all very capable of it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Capable of, but it's that we are unwilling.
Yes.
In that moment when we make that choice theory, right? Does this feel like a choice or does it feel like a chore? And we want to think of it that this is a choice. And am I going to respond to the calling or am I going to refuse the call?
And I think a lot of it also has to do, I know I say I think a lot, but I know so. A lot of it has to do with habit. It's easier to do things that we have already done so versus to do something else. Something else is something new, and that requires work. That requires dedication. That requires time. For us, for example, for instance, this is I think for both of us, right? We took a few days off because of the holidays, but we did not take time off to record this because this is important to us. We know we want to do this because it makes us feel good and it reaches out to people who hopefully enjoy this. And I mean, from what we're hearing,
it's really enjoyable because we have peaceful conversations. We are connected. It really feels more fun. It doesn't feel like a chore. It just feels like, oh my gosh, how wonderful that we get to do this.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Right? And the preparation, like for the webinar and all that, and how wonderful that in the preparation of it, that at least for me, I get to learn and get to be reminded and get to practice what I'm learning from what I read and in that preparation.
It's almost like motivating, I want to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not to all of our viewers, you can do YouTube videos to motivate yourself, but this is motivating to us. We get to sit down, we get to have time. It's almost like a cup of tea. We're putting responsibilities aside. We're sitting here, and this is a great time because, like you said, we're in a moment. So we're having all of these different conversations. Whatever comes to our minds, we say it. I think we can say, and we enjoy it. I think the joy is the biggest part of being motivated. Once again, go into happiness, enjoying what you're doing, finding this path, whether it is 5 minutes, whether it is an hour, and sticking to it. Sticking to it. Happiness will bring you time.
What's your calendar? And you have set a mindset like, I have that appointment at that time. I'm going to commit to it. I'm going to show up. That attitude then transfers to all other parts of our lives. I am committed. I am going to show up because I respect that person, and that shows, my respect for myself as well.
And I like what you said, and I use it with my clients, is instead of saying I have to, I am. And that makes such a difference. I can always say I have to do this, and it's almost like in the back of my mind, most likely I will not do it. But the moment I'm able to say I am doing it now, I am doing it today, I'm going to do it. Most of the cases, at least from what I've recognized, it works.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it
puts us in the present.
The resonance, right, is a command. Like some of the things I do, like I'm happy to do this. I'm happy to do this. Right? I'm lucky to do this. So I think the words that we kind of write down, but also really the practice of what we say to ourselves and how we view it, our perception towards life, our attitude towards life. My God, it influences everything we do. An angry man makes angry decisions. A worried man makes worried decisions. An empowered man makes empowered decisions.
Absolutely.
Right.
So this is really just a conversation about New Year's resolutions. And moving forward, closing 2020 in a good, in a bad way. I mean, a lot of things have happened this year, and we can acknowledge that. But what is it that we want to accomplish for ourselves? How can we gain the inner strength, the inner voice that is nurturing to us, caring, loving, empowering, because it really comes within in order to then establish our goals to move us forward. Brian?
Yes.
Thank you so much. I truly enjoy these moments. I truly enjoyed so far what this year has brought to us, and how this year is going to end and allow us to move us forward into 2021. So viewers, subscribe, comment, like, share, bring us any feedback, and look forward to we will be posting the webinar that Brian and I will be doing as of January 18th. You will find links, possibilities to sign up for this webinar, so that way you can manifest a better version of yourself. Who is it that you would like to be? Where is it that you begin, I should say, and where is it that you end on your journey of 2021? Yes. So thank you once again. Thank you to our viewers for watching us all the time. Take care.
More than be your best self.
Yes.